Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Fastamai, good evening. It's Tuesday the 6th of August and this is Update on Manx Radio, your rundown of what's been happening news-wise today. Lovely to have your company. Coming up in the next half hour, an inquest has heard a Southern 100 competitor who was killed in last year's event did not see the checkered flag. We'll bring you more on this in a few moments. Also tonight, a new Council of Ministers report has set out thoughts and encouraging people to move over here. We'll take you through the findings and some of your thoughts. And later, why we're being urged to really make sure we're ready before getting a new pet. All that, we'll keep an eye on the roads as well. If you spot anything when you're out and about, 166 177, or you can email studio@manxradio.com. First, let's join Christian for the latest news headlines.
The number of full-time equivalent posts in Manx Care has increased by 9% since it was established 3 years ago. The Health Minister has released new figures showing 285 jobs were created since 2021. Manx TT rider Conor Cummings will put his classic racing abilities to the test at this year's Manx Grand Prix. The Ramsey man is expected to make his return 5 years on from his last appearance at the TT in 2019. And evening road closures are due to come into force tonight on the Mountain Road for maintenance work. Between 6:30 and 10, the road will be closed between Burrell Park and Ramsey and the Craignabar Back Road. In international news, and the man who went on television in America to call Donald Trump and his election running mate J.D. Vance weird could find himself as vice president. Kamala Harris has picked the former teacher, coach and veteran Tim Walz to stand alongside her, despite only really becoming well known a couple of weeks ago. Alderhay Children's Hospital says the patients in its care following last week's stabbing in Southport have been discharged. The attack sparked misinformation online, which has fueled violent disorder and rioting across England and Northern Ireland. The UK Prime Minister is to hold a second emergency COBRA meeting tonight. And Sport Team GB's Sky Brown is getting underway in the women's park skateboarding final at the Paris Olympics. However, she suffered a shoulder injury during qualifying. Those are the headlines. News in full at 6.
Thanks very much, Christian. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. So tonight, generally dry. It will be some sunny spells around, but turning cloudy later. The fresh southwest wind is going to ease slightly and temperatures will drop to around 12 Celsius overnight. Cloudy at first tomorrow, but then there will be sunny intervals developing in the afternoon. The risk of 1 or 2 passing showers developing, and it is going to be quite breezy, fresh to strong southwest winds. Those will moderate in the evening and best temperatures tomorrow of 19. Sunset this evening, 6 minutes past 9. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 5:42.
Manx Glass and Glazing don't just do the big jobs. It's easy to repair broken greenhouse glass at Manx Glass and Glazing. For greenhouse glass cut to size, call 674 573.
See the island like you've never seen it before on an incredible chauffeur-driven trike tour. A unique way to make memories that will last a lifetime. Gift vouchers available too. See iomtriketours.com for details and booking.
One architectural design company has particular expertise in achieving planning approval for a wide variety of projects, from landmark buildings to spectacular homes. Talk to the experts at Ellis Brown and get your project off the ground. For excellence in design, search Ellis Brown.
Your business can grow its market share 4 times faster. Be heard by over 43,000 island adults over 13 weeks. Call us on 682 600. Manx Radio is proud to support Manx businesses and communities.
Firestone Rubber Roof Shop for one-piece flat roofing systems. No joins, no leaks. We also line commercial box gutters in one piece up to 60 metres with a 20-year written warranty against leakage. Call Rubber Roof Shop on 49667.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
It's 4.5 minutes past 5. A coroner has ruled that the death of a Southern 100 competitor last year was misadventure. The inquest into the death of 50-year-old Alan Connor was concluded at Douglas Courthouse today. Our news editor Tessa Hawley was there for Manx Radio, and just a warning that this conversation is going to contain some information which you may find distressing. Tessa, first, this is one of 2 inquests being held this week.
That's right. So if you cast your mind back to the 11th of July last year, you might recall there was a serious incident on the second day of the Southern 100 event. Now, that took place during a qualifying session, and tragically, rider Alan Connor from the Republic of Ireland and Marshal Liam Clark from Wigan were fatally injured. The inquests of both men are being concluded this week. Mr. Connor's inquest was held today, and Mr. Clark's will take place tomorrow.
So what did we learn about that incident today?
So we heard that Mr. Connor was involved in a collision with newcomer rider Andrew Smart in the final moments of the qualifying lap after the pair had crossed the finish line. Now, both had gone through at speed, but the court heard Mr. Smart had slowed down and was beginning to move across the carriageway towards the pit lane when he was struck by Mr. Connor. The court heard that whilst Mr. Connor took action to slow down, it was effectively too late, and there was a glancing collision between the two bikes. Now, a number of eyewitness accounts were read out, including from a marshal who was stationed at the finish line. She described Mr. Connor's bike as going still at race pace as if he was going for another lap. And one spectator described the incident as sounding like an almighty bomb had gone off.
We know that Mr. Connor suffered multiple injuries as a result of that collision and he died at the scene. What happened to the other racer?
So Mr. Smart's evidence was read to the court too, and he said that he'd felt what he described as a massive smash into his back. Now, he said this felt like a car crash, and his instant thought at the time was that the other rider had missed the checkered flag. He told the court, "I remember feeling angry at the time and shouting, 'How has he not seen that?' meaning the checkered flag."
And that was also something the coroner of inquest said he thought had happened as well.
That's right. So the coroner of inquest, James Brooks, said he was perfectly satisfied that Mr. Connor had indeed missed the checkered flag, which was bringing that qualifying session to a close. But the coroner said it wasn't clear why, saying the resulting collision was an unintentional act.
And do we know yet about any changes that have been made as a result of this tragedy?
So the short answer to that is yes. The clerk of the course actually confirmed that changes have already been made and implemented at this year's event. Now, they include the use of different safety barriers, a new digital checkered flag and new timing countdown boards. And the coroner of inquest has also confirmed today he will be writing to ACU events to suggest that the positions of all flags around the course are checked by travelling marshals between race and practice sessions in future.
Tessa Hawley, thank you. 7.5 minutes past 5. Plans to convert a 25-bed guest house in Port Erin have been refused due to a lack of affordable housing provision. The applicant had wanted to transform Erin House in Athol Park into a block of 8 apartments. Lewis Foster has the details.
The plans had already been recommended for refusal before they went before the planning committee based on a lack of affordable housing provision and concerns from neighbours around parking provision. The applicant told the committee there would be 6 dedicated parking spaces for residents. Adding to include any more would come at the loss of green space around the property and ultimately end up with a scheme which is overdeveloped. Historically, the committee was told the property at one stage was a nursing home before becoming a guest house. Meanwhile, there was a debate over the number of apartments actually being created. With one apartment already within the building, the applicant argued only 7 new dwellings would be created, and so foregoing the need for an affordable housing contribution. However, the case officer argued the floor plan of the property would be changing so significantly it couldn't be said that any fewer than 8 apartments were being created, and a £28,000 commuted sum would need to be paid. The applicant insisted that was a figure they simply couldn't afford. Members agreed they would like to see something happen with the site, but ultimately voted against the plans.
Lewis Foster. 9 minutes past 5. A new report from the Council of Ministers sets out a number of incentives and disincentives that government's looking at to encourage people to migrate to the Isle of Man. Now, it's been published to meet a resolution set by Tynwald back in December last year. Siobhan Fletcher's been taking a look at it and joins me now. Siobhan, what does this reveal?
Yeah, Beth. So essentially, this report is government setting out its stall on what the island may need to do going forwards to bring more people in to live here. A key part of the Cannon government's economic strategy and island plan is this idea that they can create and fill 5,000 new jobs across key sectors by 2030, reaching an overall GDP of £10 billion. And to do this, they need to further develop infrastructure and public services to plan for a hoped estimated population of 100,000 by 2037. The question here is, though, are these goals achievable? This report seems to suggest that at the moment, maybe not.
Why is that?
Well, the new report reveals that the island's population has only increased by a net 461 people in the last 3 years. Basically, between May 2021 and 2023, 3,705 people migrated into the island. But when outward migration is taken into account, that's 2,709 people, along with the fact that there were fewer births than deaths in our resident population. The resulting increase in the population was only that 461.
So then what is government suggesting to get more people to come here and, crucially, more people to stay?
Well, for example, one thing they're looking at utilising is young people's student loan debt. They say providing assistance to repay some or all of a student loan is often cited as a potential incentive to encourage recent graduates to return or relocate to the island. Attracting this group is described as a key aspect of rebalancing the island's demographics and reversing long-term trends in the declining working population. An alternative approach relevant to any Manx students listening might be that they will add cost for those who do not return in a similar model to New Zealand, where there are no interest rates on student loans if a person stays in the country.
Now, we also mentioned that this report looks at disincentives. What do they mean by that?
Yeah, so obviously government want to attract those younger working age population for inward migration or those with existing familial ties to the island. Therefore, disincentives would focus primarily on those who are not economically active. They say disincentives via legal controls and financial tools can both be used by managing access to 4 principal areas. That's public services, entry, the housing market and the labour market. So, for example, they may look at following the UK in implementing an immigration healthcare subcharge.
Now, naturally, this has provoked a lot of comment today. We've seen a lot on the Manx Radio Facebook page, callers and texters into Mannin Line. And when we shared this story this morning, we asked what you would think about encouraging someone to move to the Isle of Man. We were inundated, as I say, with replies of suggestions. A big one was affordable housing. One person said, private rental is not the answer. It's breaking people to the point of realising it's just not worth the move. And another person said, there seem to be a lot of adverts on the property pages from people looking for accommodation because they're coming to live over here. Rentals, they say, are few and far between, and rental prices are extortionate now, not only for people coming over, but also for people presently local. So, Siobhan, is this housing situation touched upon in the report?
Yeah, it is, but not really that affordability aspect, more who can access the market. So, unlike similar jurisdictions, the Isle of Man does not currently have live legislation provision to control who's able to purchase or rent residential accommodation on the island. This means that any person can purchase residential property here, regardless of whether they intend to live in it or whether they're economically active. The Council of Ministers in this report say introducing legal controls on housing would likely require detailed preparation, management and ongoing oversight.
Siobhan, thank you very much. A very detailed report. You can see it in full at manxradio.com. And as ever, if you've got any thoughts you'd like to share with us, you can go to the Manx Radio Facebook page, email studio@manxradio.com or text 166 177. 13 and a half minutes past 5. Let's turn our attention to business now, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall. And there have been some delays to plans for a new wind farm in the south of the island as Manx Utilities continues to seek a manufacturer to appoint. The chair of the authority, MHK John Wannenberg, says there are ongoing contractual complexities surrounding the procurement process. Lewis has the details.
Despite that, Mr. Wannenberg, responding in a Tynwald written answer, says Manx Utilities remains on target to confirm the likely design later this year. The question asked how many wind turbines are planned, what height will they be, and what levels of power generation are expected. That all depends on which manufacturer is selected, Mr. Wannenberg says, adding multiple designs are currently possible.
Lewis reporting there. Now, the stock market report, also brought to us by Ramsey Crookall, tells us that UK and European stocks rebounded today, recovering from a steep sell-off yesterday that had triggered a global market plunge. Investors were also absorbing the latest data on the UK construction sector, which revealed that activity in July grew at its fastest pace in 26 months. The headline S&P Global Construction Purchasing Managers Index increased from 55.3 from June's 52.2, marking the strongest rate of expansion since May 2022. Wall Street stocks also opened higher today, with major indices bouncing back from the significant losses seen across global markets the day before. Meanwhile, gold prices eased as the dollar strengthened, though expectations of a US rate cut in September and rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East kept bullion above the crucial $2,400 per ounce mark. Crude oil futures declined for the fourth consecutive session today as recession fears continued to outweigh concerns about that potential major escalation in the Middle East. Well, gold currently stands off 0.93% at $2,385. Brent is off 0.66% at $76.79. At the close, the FTSE 100 was up 0.14% at 8,019. And the latest a short time ago from the Dow Jones, it was up 1.05% at 39,111. And the latest from the Nasdaq, it was up 1.4% at 16,427.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
So the main thing to look out for on the roads is those evening road closures due to come into force tonight on the Mountain Road for maintenance work. That's going to be between 6:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. The Mountain Road will be closed between Burrell Park in Ramsey and the Cregnabar Back Road. The roadworks were due to begin yesterday, but they were called off because of the poor weather yesterday. So every evening this week, 6:30 p.m. and 10 p.m, the road will be closed between Burrell Park in Ramsey and the Cregnabar Back Road. Otherwise, it's everything as it was this morning. Lots of temporary traffic lights around, and if you spot anything, 166 177, or you can email studio@manxradio.com. We had a note yesterday about people not putting their lights on the mountain, but conditions up there are much better today. All okay down at the Steam Packet and at the airport as well.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
Quayside. It's coming up to 18 minutes past 5. Peel commissioners will support the application for a sewage treatment plant despite an appeal which has been submitted against it. Chair Christine Muckton says it's an important project for Peel and the local authority will provide Manx Utilities with backing during this process.
Well, with such a big project, you can expect people to put in an appeal. It is a massive, massive project, as you're well aware. From the Commissioner's point of view, it's something that we desperately need in the West, and we are supportive of Manx Utilities to progress this so we can deal with all that we have to deal with correctly, which will be in a new plant. We've been at this for over 20 years trying to get a sewage work plant in Peel. And, you know, as the town develops, you've got more sewage and everything to deal with. Well, as you're well aware, the new area plan has been getting discussed and everything, and there is in the strategic reserves another place. Obviously, if this planning got turned down for whatever reason, you're looking to restart the whole situation again, and it'd be very disappointing if we had to start all over again. And I'm sure it's going to be of great concern to them, and I would appeal to anybody that is supportive to back the action and say this is what we really need, and we need it urgently in Peel. Until we really know who's lodged the appeal. It could be one person, it could be half a dozen. We don't know. So we'd really like to see how this pans out with the appeal.
Appeal Commissioner's Chair Christine Muckton. 5:20 now. Manx residents who'd like to get a new pet are being urged to make sure they're really ready first. This advice is coming from the MSPCA, who've had 6 puppies given up for rehoming in the past 6 weeks. Krisha Baruch and Lily Johnson are from the charity.
We think it's mainly because perhaps the island has been able to come out of lockdown. Puppies are not selling as expensive as they normally are, and so puppies are being found cheaper online and selling sites as well on the island, and it means that more people are able to purchase a puppy, which is fantastic news. However, maybe not everybody is able to continue with the financial area of caring for a puppy. That's the vaccinations, the vet bills, the puppy food, the training, etc. And some are finding it a little bit difficult, so they are contacting us. We're really happy that people are contacting us. It means that we get to do our job and we're able to rehome those puppies to suitable, relevant homes and be a backup. We recommend, if you are still struggling with a puppy or a young dog, please do get in touch. There's no judgment. We understand it's a difficult process and it's a difficult time, and we're here to make it a lot easier and make sure that dog gets a very loving home.
We're also seeing some people are unfortunately buying puppies as gifts. We've had a couple of them came in because the owner didn't actually choose to get them themselves, which is obviously a bit of a problem because they're not prepared for the responsibility. So yeah, it's definitely a trend of, just because they're easy to get on the island now, they're coming in a lot more frequently. If you're gonna, obviously rescue dogs, a lot of them are older, they have more issues, more training required, so it's not an option for everyone. If you can, try and rescue a dog. If you can't and a puppy is like the best option for you, probably definitely go to a kennel club, a short breeder, and make sure they're all health checked as well. And obviously sign up to a vet beforehand to make sure you've got that, and just kind of put all your ducks in a row.
That's Lily Johnson and Krish Baruch from the MSPCA. 5:21. A 6-strong Isle of Man golf team are in action in Cumbria tomorrow, facing 6 English counties in the Northern Counties Men's Qualifying Championship. Now, ahead of the showdown in Ulverston, Isle of Man captain Daryl Collister explains just how big an event this is on the Isle of Man's national team calendar.
This is the biggest, really, from our side that we would represent as a team and not on an individual basis. So, yeah, it's the biggest one that we are, as the Isle of Man is part of the England counties, so we are an affiliated county. So yeah, it's the biggest that we would represent as an island on an annual basis. We played on Sunday at Carlisle. It was a bit of a sort of warm-up, really, if nothing else, to get us sort of into the flow of the competition mode, getting sharp, really. So hopefully that'll translate to a bit more sort of our performance side.
And in terms of the course itself out at Ulverston, what do you know about it already? Is it somewhere you've had previous experience before as a team or as individuals?
No, none of us have played it before. So we're up there yesterday and straight away taken back by the sheer slopes and hills out there. So a few of the lads walked, and it looks like there's a few challenging holes, which we're going to have to sort of try and work out and negotiate how we're going to play them today. So that is the main task, really, is to work out what the tactical options are, really, and strategy on a few of them holes.
Is there any comparison or any similarities to courses here on the island?
Yeah, I think the slope-wise and that, it's probably got a bit of a sort of Mount Murray and maybe King of the Bay sort of feel to it. So something that maybe we'll feel some comfort in that side.
What's the ambition? Where would you like to see yourselves finishing come the end of play on Wednesday?
It is real tough competition. You know, speaking yesterday to one of the boys, there's likes of Yorkshire have got hundreds of clubs and 40 players of which they can pick their 6 from. Cumbria, maybe the most like us, have got sort of 30 clubs and over 10,000 golfers in their golf union. So hopefully our ambition is sort of play our best golf and finish off the bottom is the initial ambition. If all things go well, golf is a strange game and strange things have happened, so you never know.
That is Isle of Man golf captain Daryl Collister there. We're joined by the sports editor Rob Pritchard. Are you a golf fan?
I'm not someone who's played, but I do find it, enjoyable to watch, particularly some of the major events that go on across, and of course it's been on at the Olympics as well. So caught a bit of the coverage on there. Great work from Tommy Fleetwood and Team GB for his silver medal as well the other day.
Do you know, doing so well. I don't know about you, I've been watching quite a lot of the Olympics over the past few days, and it's just brilliant, and especially those sports that you don't necessarily automatically associate with the Olympics, just driving up the presence of them.
Absolutely, and I think what's quite impressive about the coverage that you see from whichever outlet it's from as well is that they are catering to those who may be watching something like the Olympics for the very first time. They may not in exactly that situation where you might not have seen or heard of, in some cases, a certain sport, but they'll explain the basics of what's going on so you can follow it as well and you can get embedded into it as well. Like, for someone in my role, it's my job to know about these certain things, but there are some people who maybe just watch things on a leisurely basis, and the fact that there is an effort to include people is a very important step forward, because who knows, that could be the first step in inspiring someone to take up that sport and maybe, just maybe, go on to maybe compete in the Olympics in the future.
Absolutely. I'm probably not going to be an Olympic champion, though. I'll just stick to watching. What else is happening sports-wise?
Well, there's been plenty going on in motorsport today, and news as well around two big names around the TT course. Well, we'll start with one of them is Manx TT rider Connor Cummins. He's going to be putting his classic racing abilities to the test at this year's Manx Grand Prix. The Ramsey man makes a return to this month's meeting after a 5-year hiatus since being an ever-present at the Classic TT between 2013 and 2019. Well, the 38-year-old will pilot a 500cc Steplan Honda in the 4-lap Classic Senior MGP race. He's made 2 appearances in the Classic Senior event previously in 2013 and 2016 and was a retirement on both occasions. His best results at the meeting have both come in the Classic Superbike race, firstly taking 2nd spot on the Team Classic Suzuki in 2013 and then finishing 3rd on the 500cc Paget's Yamaha in 2018. And sticking with motorsport, another big name, TT competitor Lee Johnston, will make his return to racing at this month's Manx Grand Prix. The 35-year-old will take part in the lightweight and classic superbike races on Reed Racing RS250 and RC45 Honda machinery, respectively. Well, the Northern Irishman based in Yorkshire, he's been out of action since May last year after sustaining serious injuries at the Northwest 200 that year before a testing crash in Spain in January this year, and as a result, he's missed out on the last 2 Isle of Man TT races as well as MGP 2023. Well, along with having 1 TT win to his name from the 2019 Supersport TT Race 1, Johnston also boasts previous victories in the lightweight Classic TT, Classic Senior MGP and Junior Classic TT. And finally, in football, some big news today. Douglas Royal have taken voluntary relegation from the Canada Life Men's Premier League for the 2024-25 season. The Isle of Man FA has confirmed it's granted a request from the club for its first team to step down in Division 2 in what they say, in order to help them in rebuilding. As a result, Marown will be reinstated into the top flight, having dropped down at the end of the previous campaign. Well, during the 23-24 season, Douglas Royal's first team finished 10th out of the 13 sides in the Premier League on 22 points and 4 points clear of the relegation zone. Meanwhile, Marown have earned their reprieve after finishing second from bottom on 18 points. Only Braddon on 9 points ended the campaign on a lower total.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. And that is all from Update this evening. Thank you so much for your company. Coming up next tonight, it's Countryside with Simon and Kiri. Then it'll be Greatest Hits with Chris Quirt before Chris Kinley is back in the chair tomorrow. The Folk Show with John Barker, and then Dave Moore will be rounding off your Tuesday from 10 p.m. with After Hours. And just a reminder, as ever, if there's something happening in your local community that you'd like to let us know about, we'd love to hear from you. newsroom@manxradio.com is the best email address, and also go to the Manx Radio website for the full rundown of what's happening news-wise. There's also the longer newscast interviews there as well, and the good news section. If you're a little bit fed up of all the bad news, there's a good news section to feast on there. Breakfast with Ben will be back at 6 tomorrow morning. I'll be here with you from 5 p.m. tomorrow. Whatever you're doing for the rest of your Tuesday evening, have a good one.